Hello, my friends and family. This is the Professor, the Teaser King, coming to you with let's recap last weekend. And then what's today, Tuesday? And then we'll get into this week on Wednesday and Thursday. So I had three locks going. Lock number one was Cincinnati to kill UCF. UCF had a backup quarterback. Teams like Cincinnati have to win and win big so they make the playoffs. So there's no going to be flat. They're not going to get backdoored. And they came out 35-0, and then just they instead of letting it go in the fourth quarter, the backup came in and scored a touchdown. So that's about what I thought. And Gabriel didn't quarterback for UCF. He's out with a broken collarbone, so their backup was in. And he's starting to look okay, but he doesn't have experience and not against Cincinnati's defense. Second play lock was the under in the Georgia game. With that defense, it's just keep playing it. And really, it was an easy under, and Kentucky scores with like 5 seconds left to cover the spread. So don't tell me these coaches don't know what the line is. They I think they're laying 23 and they're up 30-7. So I think they were laying 22 or 21. And with 4 seconds left, Kentucky scores a late touchdown. Fortunately for the over and unders, there was actually 2 extra points missed after touchdowns in the fourth quarter, one by each team. And the real over under, I think, was 44.5. The score was 43. Had they made the extra points, would have been 45. And all the regular under players would have lost. But Teaser King doing the teaser, we were never worried in the game, and with the late touchdown, didn't really, didn't have an issue. This defense is incredible for Georgia. Kentucky had a good defense also, which was the point of the bet. Kentucky's a good team. They just killed LSU, who then came back and beat Florida. So it's not like LSU can't score, and they just shut them down. But this shows you how strong Georgia is. They shut out Arkansas. Arkansas puts up a 50 on Ole Miss, beats Texas. Here's Kentucky, another, they get 13, of which really they got 7 and a touchdown with 5 seconds left. Sure pissed off a lot of bettors, I'm sure. So those were the 2 college locks. I had a huge day in college. I mean, I hit everything. I hit the whole house. I mean, I must have went 14-2. We'll go through that in a minute. My last lock was the San Diego-Baltimore game. I hit San Diego in 9, strong road dog, and these coaches are out of their fucking minds and need to all be fired. The coach, they're all 19. They're going for it. I don't get it. It's not about, okay, let's look at risk reward. Okay, I play the stock market. I bet football. What do? I play poker. It's risk reward. The risk of going for it on your own 20, okay, let's say you get it. Now you got, it's your own 21. What is your reward? You don't have a reward. It's not like if you get it now, you kick a field goal or you got the ball at your own 21. You have no reward. The risk is if you get stopped and the other team's gonna stop you most of the time, then you lose. The game's over because then they only got 20 yards. They're going to score. I think Baltimore kicked a field goal on it, but it was momentum. It was Baltimore knowing, they can't even run on us. And you look like an idiot going forward on 4th down from your own 20. I don't get the analytics. I don't see any positive at all. The only time I would go for it on a 4th down is late in the game when I need the touchdown. The field goal is not going to do me any good. Or if I got the ball on their 40 and I don't want to kick a 57-yarder, and it's 4th and less than 3, I could maybe go for it. Maybe 4th and 1, 4th and 2. Outside of that, these guys going for it on 4th and 5 are ridiculous. Now, the Carolina mini game, Carolina had it at their own 2-yard line, but there was no time left. And so it was 4th and 10 at their own 2, and they had to because the game was over and they hit the pass. But that was normally you're never going to see that. So San Diego didn't show up. I found this coach didn't play them the way the prior coach did. Prior coach had two safeties in the game and just shut them down when Jackson went to run. But what's happening here is you're not seeing the same thing. They didn't blitz them. They couldn't defend them. Their defense didn't even look like it was playing. The guys in the secondary didn't want to tackle anybody. The guys would run and they'd kind of get out of the way. And San Diego looked terrible in this game. I don't know if they were, psyched out probably, but that's what happened. But, this is why the trends are good, but not 100%. Would I play the lock again? Well, the way Baltimore had looked, I felt comfortable that Baltimore, the week before, they barely beat the Lions on a 66-yard field goal or 68-yard field goal. So I had no problem thinking Baltimore was a super team, and San Diego had won in KC. So I had no problem making the play. It was just bad luck. Baltimore, San Diego's defense didn't make the trip. So it happens. That's why it's gambling. That's why the lock was a confidence pick, and it lost. But the other two locks won. So, what are you going to do? I had the locks in more than one teaser. So in college, it was good. I had 4 winners, and in the pros, I had the 2 losers with San Diego. But I hit everything else in college. So let's talk college. Just walking down the list. So I start with the Clemson under. Clemson's a team like Georgia, only Georgia has a quarterback and an offense. Clemson doesn't. Their quarterback's terrible. So Syracuse gave them all they wanted. Probably should have won the game, but I'm playing them under. I had North Carolina even. They win. Michigan State, they win. Army, they win. Nebraska was a loser. Cincinnati was the lock. I had Air Force. I had UCLA and a couple teasers. Again, when I talked about that game, you had an over team playing an under team, which means the under team's not going to score a lot. Washington, which they didn't. They got 17. And UCLA, just an average game for them, scoring 24, and you get an 8. So that was easy. Liberty, how they lost to, here's an A team losing to a Z team. It's just unbelievable. But I only had them in one teaser, and so it was one loss. But that was a very strange game, to say the least. I had Baylor over BYU, Oklahoma State over Texas, Alabama to kill and the over, double winner, Western Kentucky over Old Dominion, the Georgia lock under, Auburn as a dog was good. Auburn won the game straight out. UTSA, big winner, 45-0. And Nevada at night, and they won. So the only losers I had was Nebraska and Nevada, but I had at least, 13, 14 winners. I laid away from Florida. All of a sudden, LSU scored. So now I don't know that Florida – it's where my friend's telling me about, I said, well, this team has a good defense. And he says, well, no, they don't. They gave up 40 points in a game. And I said, but yes, you're right. But you got to take the average. So you got to look at how do they do against weak teams? How do they do against strong teams? And if you want to play that game, then who am I playing? So if you play in Kansas City or you're playing like a UCLA or Alabama, everybody's defense is going to look bad against Alabama, except for Georgia's. But you can't go on it. Like Kentucky's got a strong defense. Well, if Alabama lights them out, and Georgia only put 30 up on them, it doesn't mean Kentucky's defense is bad because they gave up 30 to Georgia. Or if you give up 40 to Alabama, it's not like you have a bad defense. You can't cover that. That's not going to help you. So what you have to look at is what kind of who you're playing. In other words, when I play an under in a teaser, I'm looking at both defenses are pretty good and both offenses are weak. So let's look at the Clemson Syracuse over under 45 and a half. So I go under 51 and a half. Clemson's an under team. They don't give up points. They don't score a lot. They got a bad quarterback. Syracuse is pretty good, but they also have a good defense. So I played the under knowing Clemson's now Clemson held Georgia scoreless except for a pick six. But Syracuse plays tough and they dropped some passes. They missed a field goal at the end. But basically that's what you're dealing with. Excuse me. So that's what you're dealing with. So you've got to me, you got to look at the big picture. I can't say when a team plays Alabama and Alabama scores 40, they have a bad defense. It's just what's going to happen. It's how do you play everybody else? And then I think it's the type of team that you play. So Georgia's playing Kentucky. They're both A teams. Kentucky's got a good offense, but they got a great defense. Georgia has a good offense, and they got a great defense. I wouldn't say Kentucky's defense is bad just because they gave up 30 points to Georgia, but I wouldn't say Georgia's defense gives up, it's like 5 points a game. So there becomes a fine line of who do you play that are getting your stats. And I'm mentally noting that even though the stats might come out, I'll make a mental note, Liberty, Louisiana, Monroe. Now, they might come out as an A, but I'll make a mental note they lost to Louisiana, Monroe. And even though Louisiana, Monroe will probably still be a zero, still be a Z, I still make a mental note they beat Liberty, who's a really good team. And what I can't figure out is the week before, Louisiana Monroe lost by 50 points to South Alabama, like 57-10 or something. So that's why I'm on Liberty. Louisiana Monroe loses to South Alabama, and then they beat Liberty. So how do you get your stats for that? You really can't. That's why you average them. But you mentally note they beat Liberty. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to beat Texas State and the rest of the teams, but it does. So you don't know which team it is. And you don't know, was it a change in quarterback? Is that what happened? Or how did their defense all of a sudden get better? Was there a lot of turnovers by Liberty? Turnovers will make an underscore and overscore, and you still might have a great defense. But if the quarterback's throwing pick sixes and getting strip sacked and they're returning it for touchdowns or punt returns, you can't blame the defense. And Alabama is very good at that. Alabama had, I think, a pick six, a punt return that got them close. So they score about 21 points on non-offensive touchdowns, Alabama. So, but they always do. They always get a pick six. They always seem to block a punt or run the punt back. They're just so strong in every area. That's what's amazing that Texas A&M beat them. And now Texas A&M kills Missouri, who's a really weak team. They're a weak defensive team. And they put up 35 on them. It's not a big deal. Everybody puts up 35 on Missouri. And Missouri getting 14 is a surprise because A&M's defense is very good. So where does A&M go from here? They beat Alabama, and that's really what you're looking at. Purdue beating Iowa. Yeah, that was a surprise, but Iowa doesn't score a lot. Purdue, great coach. Been waiting for them to wake up. It's like the Nebraska, great coach, but they're not getting used to. They don't have all their players and their systems. Even though they've been there a while, Nebraska's had to use Martinez the whole time. Purdue's got O'Connell, who's not very good. Brom had better quarterbacks at Western Kentucky. So you end up with that. But for them to win, I wasn't surprised. I wasn't shocked because Iowa was a little bit, they'd beaten Penn State at home in a big game. So for them to be flat was just like A&M I thought might be. But then you've got Purdue with a good offense when they want to be. And even though they're not scoring a lot, they knew the matchups. What you got to understand is this whole thing's about matchups. let's put it this way. You're sitting at the poker table and I played against this Russian girl and she always bluffed, except for when she had a good hand and then she started checking. So you've got to know who you're playing and what's the matchup. So when she made a big bet, if I had a good hand, I would just call her. And I knew I had her, and then she didn't know what to do. And if she kept bluffing me, I kept calling her because I knew with her big bets, I had a good hand. Maybe I flopped a set or I hit a straight or a flush or something, and she's still betting, and I know I got her. So we went on a break, and I talked to her for a little bit, and I said to her, I know your tell. And she's like, what? I go, when you're bluffing, you bet. When you're not bluffing, you check. So I know anytime you check, you've flopped a set, or you got two pair, or you're four spade. You want me in, so you're not betting. But when you've got nothing, you want to bluff, so you bet a lot. So all I got to do is when you bet, I bet, and when you check, I better be trapping you. But I know you've got a good hand, and that's how you beat a bluffer. It's a matchup thing, so you've got to know who you're playing. But I knew she was a bluffer. Most of the guys where I play poker at the MGM in Detroit, most of the guys are not bluffers, especially the older guys. They tend to be tight. This is their paycheck. It's not like Vegas when people are on vacation and I'm here to lose 10 grand. And those guys just throw away the money at you. But here they're working, right? So they can't afford to lose a lot. So they're tight. So when they make a bet, they're not bluffing. So it's matchups. It's how does the player play? That's what you're looking to do. And so what you got to be looking at is look at the games. UCLA, Washington, the matchup was this game's dead even, take the dog. And if you're lucky, you get Washington as the dog. They don't score a lot against a team like UCLA, who's a very good quarterback, good running back, Charbonnet and Thompson Robinson. So they've got talent. They've got a good coach, and he knows when he sees the Washington D, they were running the ball a lot. I think they're playing a two deep zone. We'll stop them that, and then they just ran into it. They're playing a two deep zone. You just run on it because all the safeties are not in run support. So you got 9 blocking 9 and a good running back, and you just eat it up. Air Force was a live dog. So as I said, the live dogs, I had 3 live dogs. UCLA, winner outright. Air Force, winner outright. And Tennessee lost by 5, getting 9.5. So that's why I look for live dogs. I'd rather play a live dog. I'd rather make a UCLA bet or even the San Diego, Baltimore. I wish I would have got San Diego playing Washington or the Giants as the favorite. That's when it's a real lock. When you get a weak team as the favorite, and you get a team like San Diego or Tennessee as your dog, then you really got it. So you got to be careful. Usually the only team that scares me in the NFL used to be New England with Brady. I don't really have a team I'm afraid. I'm not really afraid of Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Kansas City. Not afraid of Buffalo. Now maybe Tampa I would maybe not tease against because I don't want to mess with Tom Brady. I'm not afraid of Green Bay. There's really no super team. Even the Rams, in the right situation, I would play against them. So that's what I tend to do. So again, Oregon, easy win over Cal. Pitt, I watched the Pitt game, 28-7. Pitt scores 50 points a game, so I was curious what they would do against a good, strong defense like Virginia Tech, and that's exactly what I thought. Although the Virginia Tech didn't score, Pitt puts up only 28, not 50, but they win 28-7, so Pitt's a good team. They don't score 50, but their defense shows up, so Pitt's an A team this year. So this is why you keep track. All of a sudden, you got Pitt as an A team, and you're looking at that, going, oh, okay. So they weren't an A team before. Now, an A team I can trust. So this week they got Clemson, and they're actually freaking favored. And I'm like, okay, maybe I take Clemson in the points in this game. a little afraid of that Pitt's going to score a lot, but I don't know. They scored 28. What do I see them at? I got, where is it? Pitt. Here, Pitt 3.5, 47 is the over Clemson. This is a game you got Clemson as a dog. Be careful with Pitt. So that's where they do now. I'm not scared of Clemson's offense, but I am scared of Clemson's defense shutting down Pitt. Over 47. So automatically against all the other ACCs, I've been just taking Clemson under, and nobody scores on them, and Clemson can't score. Their quarterback's terrible. So do I go under 53 in this game? Well, that's a curious thought that I got to think about. Clemson's not going to, Pitt has a good defense as well as Clemson. And Clemson has a way of putting pressure on the quarterback and putting pressure on the receivers. They're fast. They just don't have an offense, and Pitt's defense is good. So it could be another under, or I'm going to take Clemson at 9.5. The last thing I'm doing is taking Pitt. See, here I have Clemson as a 3-point favorite. Pitt comes out as the 3-point favorite. So I don't understand that. Now, I would have taken Pitt in 9, I think, but I'm not taking Pitt as the favorite. Again, the matchup into that defense, and now I'm seeing how they played Virginia Tech, only scoring 28. This should be a low-scoring game, but I'm really tempted to take Clemson. This week's tough. There's no Georgia under to play. There's some teams missing. And that's the problem with college. They're either missing or they're playing a Division II team, and you can't bet them. So that's what I don't like about that's the problem with college you get. And the pros at least are playing pro teams. However, you got so many bad teams. It's pretty rough there. If you guys have any questions, comments, please feel free. Again, this is the professor teaching football. So this is a master's class as well as analysis. UTSA, very strong team. They kill Rice 45-0. That game was over at half. It was like 31-0 real quick. First score I saw was like 31-0. Mississippi, Tennessee. Tennessee showed me something. They held Mississippi to 31. They scored 26. The Tennessee's okay. They got a pretty good offense. They got a decent quarterback and Hooker. Iowa State beats Kansas State, so maybe Iowa State's starting to get it. They had a hard time replacing Montgomery, the running back of the Bears. That's why Iowa State was so good last year. They had balance. This year they've had trouble finding a running attack. Auburn looked good against Arkansas. Again, Auburn, they play Georgia. They scored 10 points. Here they play a good Arkansas team, 38-23. Again, that was a live dog. That was a dog game. Auburn's a very good team. So that's why when you look at the stats, Auburn, they score 30. They give up less than 20, makes them an A team. They play Arkansas, and you can see that they're a live dog in that game. Now, this is where my point was. If they're playing Alabama or Georgia, this is where I have a problem taking an Auburn, right? I don't want to mess with them against Alabama or Georgia. Against Arkansas is a different story. So when you get a team a notch lower as the favorite, then you can play the dog and feel pretty good about it. Again, Cincinnati, 56-21, the quarterback's out for UCF, but why do I play it? Because they want to make the playoffs. They've proven it by beating Notre Dame at Notre Dame. They got a really strong defense and a great quarterback, and they're running Ohio State, basically, Luke Fickell. And so basically, they're not going to let up because they know if they won this game 28-21, they wouldn't be number 1 or 2 in the country. But by winning 56-21, they go, yeah, Cincinnati's a good team. They're a playoff team. So they are motivated now to put up big numbers and win big. So you won't see them flat, and you won't see them as a 20-point favorite winning by 7. I mean, unless they're playing a real strong team. Nebraska, I don't know. They seem to have it together, the defense, and they played like shit. That one surprised me. Minnesota loses to Ball State or Bowling Green or whatever, and then here they go, looking great against Nebraska. This is why you're careful about the home dogs and the road favorites. You're going to be very selective with road favorites. Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Cincinnati, Oklahoma, maybe. You got to be very careful with who you can play as a road favorite. It's a very tricky spot for most teams. Let's see, Vandy and South Carolina. Vandy's terrible. South Carolina's not any better. 21-20. Vandy's a Z. South Carolina's just an under. So South Carolina doesn't score. And that's what they did. They only put up 21 on a Vandy team that Georgia put up 60 on. So it tells you Vandy's terrible against any good team, and South Carolina just can't score. So you keep looking at that. My Army team, there you go. The quarterback didn't play, and they lose 20-14. It wasn't under, but the under was so low at 39. It was extremely difficult to go under in a play. So you actually would have won playing it, but they scored 2 touchdowns at the end. Wisconsin on a strip sack, and then Army drives back and scores. Otherwise, it was a very low-scoring game. But Wisconsin does not have any offense. Their quarterback's terrible, and they have a good defense. So you play Wisconsin under. They're like a Clemson. Good defense, no quarterback. But when they're playing good teams, they're getting beat because they just can't. You need the good quarterback to beat the good teams, and they just don't have it. Michigan State looks good. They got Michigan next week, not this week. So you got to be careful. Michigan plays Northwestern. They got Michigan State coming up. Will they be flat? What are they going to do? Now, Michigan was so bad last year that I don't see them being flat against Northwestern, especially when you run and play defense. When you can run and play defense, you don't get flat. Why do you lose? Normally, your quarterback decides to throw to the wrong team, and your defense isn't very good. But when your defense is a top defense, you just bring that every week. Like Georgia, they're not going to let down because that defense is going to shut everybody out. So you can't really look at that. So good defensive teams you can trust. It's the offensive teams like Liberty, Louisiana Monroe. How the hell did that happen? Well, first of all, Liberty gave up 31 points to Louisiana Monroe, who can't average 20. They probably don't average 15. And the quarterback probably had interception and turnover problems. So that's how a upset happens, right? If Liberty had this really strong defense, and they looks like they have a good defense, that's probably why they lost. But Louisiana Monroe does not have an A defense. That's just a surprise. Air Force looks very strong dog. Boise's always good. They went into the blue turf, had no problem, and a good 24-17 win. So Air Force looks very strong. Boise, you gotta, they're not Boise. They're not this elite team. They're a good team. Colorado shuts out Arizona 34-0. So Arizona's Z team, they show up as a Z team. No offense, no defense. Colorado's an under. They have a good defense, and they shut them out. So that's what you kind of expect. Let's see. So Florida, LSU, go figure out LSU. Good luck on that. They can't score on Kentucky, and then they light up Florida. Again, I thought that, LSU as a home dog is hard to bet. I did not want to bet Florida. I didn't bet them. Laying 10.5. I don't even know if it was laying 7 and I get 1. 49-42. Where does that come from? But LSU, so you had Butte out, the best receiver in the country, and the best cornerback, Stingley, out. So LSU gets all these great players. The quarterback's lousy, even though he's got good stats. He does it like in this type of game, but not. He didn't show up against Kentucky. Florida, what can you say? Their defense isn't very strong. So when they play Georgia, I think next week, not this week, next week, Georgia's going to just dominate them. I mean, if the spread's if you can get 9 down to 3, that'll be a lock. Will be Georgia over Florida because Georgia's offense is very strong, as is their defense. But when Florida's giving up 49 to LSU, they don't have a defense. So very hard to take Florida in a big game against the Georgia, although they did play Alabama tough in the beginning of the year. But Alabama's quarterback was new, and he was getting his feet wet. Ole Miss, Tennessee. Tennessee's looking okay. They held them to 31, which I thought was good. So Tennessee's not bad, but they're, Georgia, Alabama. Then you got Kentucky and maybe Florida, and maybe I don't know. I think those two, and then you got your Arkansas, Mississippi State, Tennessee are all like the second layer down. Let's see, Auburn, Arkansas, we talked about. UTSA, Killing Rice. There's an A team. This is why I graded. Otherwise, who the hell knows who UTSA is? But because I'm looking at that, I see there an A. Rice is terrible, a Z, and that was an easy bet. I'm only laying 18 down to 12 is a bargain to have an A against a Z at home and only laying 12 points. And there they go, 45-0. Stanford, Washington State. Washington State starting to play better. They switched quarterbacks a couple of weeks ago. They're scoring more. So, again, they're not a pushover. Why was Stanford a road favor is beyond me. And then Hawaii, Nevada. Nevada struggled a little. This guy in Hawaii had two 70-yard runs for touchdowns early in the game. And then they started keying on him, I guess. I didn't see the game, but they win 34-17. I'm only laying 14 down to 8. So I'm only laying 8, just win by 10. And they cover by 17. So that was my good night game. So that's it. So here's my best teams, obviously Georgia, then Cincinnati. Then you probably have Alabama. And then I would say Kentucky's up there. I would say Ohio State's up there. I don't know what's going on. The Pac-10, I don't think Oklahoma. When you play Texas to a 50-45 game, both of those teams have good offenses and weak defenses. The best team probably in that conference is Oklahoma State or Baylor. They have very strong defenses. Baylor's very balanced. I'd say those are the best two. Oklahoma, now they switch quarterbacks. Now Rattler's going to cry and transfer to some, go to Mississippi or someplace. And now and the reason this kid's any good is he's a runner. So they switched to a running quarterback who's fast, and that's really the offense of Oklahoma, which is why these guys, Baker Mayfield was different, but Hurts and that's why Hurts isn't any good. He's not accurate, but he looks good at Oklahoma. Same thing with Alabama. Here's this new guy, and all of a sudden he's 30 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. The guy at Ohio State. That's the point. It's the system. They're not very good themselves if they were at Michigan State, if they were at Wisconsin. But because they play at a system like Ohio State and Alabama, these quarterbacks look 10 times better than they really are because it's the spread and they got good running and the defense really, what are they going to do? So these receivers are wide open. Look at Tagliavua on Miami. They actually cover the receivers. Nobody's open. Mac Jones is he's getting better at New England, but I think he's a better quarterback. Fields looks terrible. Give him the credit for the win over the Lions. Oh, okay. Let's see him against Minnie in Green Bay. He showed him what it is. Against Minnie, he won't do 40%. And then against, so that's what you have. These systems make the quarterback look a lot better than they are. Look at Tagliavua's brother at Maryland. If he was at Alabama, he'd be Heisman Trophy candidate. Goes to Maryland, throws 5 interceptions against Iowa, 5 against Ohio State. Next thing you know, he's not that good. He won't even be drafted. Or if he's drafted, he shouldn't be. So that's it. I mean, we can go conference. And Air Force, very strong in their conference. Fresno State's very strong. UCLA, Oregon State in the Pac-10. Oregon shouldn't have lost to Stanford. It was a bullshit interference call at the end. Stanford's not that good. USC is not that good. Arizona State, Utah beat them. Utah's a good team, but not a great team, not a playoff team. Big Ten, it's Ohio State. Penn State was there, but now the quarterback, you got to see if Clifford is out, if he plays. Iowa, you see they're not that good. Michigan State, whoever wins that game, I think is number 2, but neither of them are really playoff teams. Michigan's looking good, but let's see. Yes, a big win at Wisconsin. See, they win at Wisconsin, and then, Wisconsin has 3 losses. They're really not that good. Well, no, Wisconsin's good. They played Penn State, Notre Dame, and Michigan. They played 3 top 10 teams and lost. Well, does that make them not? So had they played 3 MAC teams and they beat them 45-0, now they're a great team? No, it's who you play. So really, that's what you got to watch. There's no good team in the MAC. I think Buffalo's not that good this year. Big Ten, again, it's Michigan State winner, and Ohio State. Iowa's okay. Wisconsin's nothing. Minnesota, Illinois, Nebraska, I thought would be a little bit better. ACC's got nobody. Pitt's probably their best team. If Pitt beats Clemson, I would say Pitt could be a playoff team because they have a good quarterback. Let's see their defense, and they're scoring a lot. So Pitt's an A team. So if they beat Clemson and they win the ACC, they could be a playoff team. So you could have Pitt, Cincinnati, Georgia, and I would say Alabama, maybe Ohio State, but I think they're a year away. Not Oklahoma or Texas. Oklahoma State runs the table. I would say Oklahoma State. They beat Baylor, and look for them. They beat a great Baylor team, and now they beat Texas. So what do they got left? They got Iowa State and they got Oklahoma. Very winnable games. So this will be curious. But Oak State could be a playoff team. They're undefeated. If they beat those 2, Iowa State and Oklahoma are very good teams. They'd be undefeated. They could be in the playoff. And this is why you need more than 4 teams in the playoff. You could theoretically have the Pitt Clemson winner, the Oklahoma State winner in the playoffs. You got your Air Force. You got the Fresno or Air Force Fresno State winner. You got the Pac-10. Who the hell knows? UCLA. Oregon State, maybe. You got Georgia and Alabama should be there. And then the Big Ten, you got Ohio State, Michigan State, whoever comes out of that. And so that should be your playoff. So Cincinnati's an AAC team. The USA, they don't have anybody good. But that's how you should do it. Army should get a chance. They played Oklahoma and Michigan well. If their quarterback plays, Army would have went undefeated. Very well coached, good defensive team. That's why I laugh when these teams. Well, if I get with a Harbaugh, who can I hire? Go hire the Army coach. Guy's unbelievable. You're winning with Army, right? You're winning with Army, and put him in a program like Michigan, he'd go undefeated. That's what I don't understand. It's like Harbaugh. He beat USC as a 45-point dog for Stanford. And then Stanford hires, and then he goes to the pros and he does great. And he should be doing better at Michigan. But that's what you want is a coach that can be a big dog and win the game. That's my kind of coach. And Army does it consistently. They didn't give up. They're down 14-0 to Wisconsin. Boom, boom. And they lose 20-14 on a strip sack. So they hung in there against Wisconsin without a throwing quarterback, right? So that's what you want. Okay, so let's talk pros. Unless anybody has comments or questions on college, please let me know. The pros, Tampa Bay, again, 28-7 lead, coast against Philly. Tom Brady, very strong. Now, there was a stat in the game that I didn't realize was the Tampa's won their last 14 or 14-1 or something. Their last loss being to New Orleans. I didn't know that, but I'm looking at the teaser trends, and they're strong anyway. Because they won, they could have been 14-point favorites and win the game. It doesn't matter; they don't cover. So if you can get them like here, where they were laying 1, then that's what you want. Miami looks pathetic against Jacksonville. Again, going for it on fourth down at their own 40. What the hell are you doing? And then against Jacksonville. And then why aren't you blitzing Trevor Lawrence? I don't understand. You blitz Field, you blitz Lawrence. They don't know what they're doing. You blitz Josh Allen. All you had to do is blitz them. They can't read. It doesn't matter. They can't read the blitz. They don't know how to get rid of the ball. You'll turn them over. That's all you want. It's amazing how bad these defensive coordinators are. So how bad is Miami to lose to a weak Jacksonville team? Green Bay, again, I was all over that game. Again, Aaron Rodgers owns Chicago. I knew Green Bay did, and I just had a feeling Rodgers against Fields, who's going to win that one? And, so he just dominated. KC Washington, backs against the wall. So KC gets killed by Buffalo, but that's when you jump on Kansas City. They just got embarrassed. They lost, but they have the talent to go to the Super Bowl. They've been there the last 2 years. So when they get pissed off, then you play them. Now, who do they got this week? Kansas City's at Tennessee. Should be a Kansas City win. Yeah, Henry's running wild. That's what I couldn't figure out when they lost to the Jets is what the hell are you not giving the ball to Henry for? And all I'm watching is the highlights. 3rd and 3, they're throwing. 4th and 2, they're throwing. Like, you got Henry. Hand him the ball. What the hell? Who's calling the plays? And you can see the last 2 games, they gave the ball to Henry a whole lot on 3rd and short, 4th and short, and he's delivering. So, yeah, now this game scares me a little. KC, it's probably not a great place to play them, but, I'm not scared of Tennessee, but how will KC do? But Tennessee can't stop the wind either. So I got KC as an over, and I got Tennessee as an even team. So they score mid-20s, they give up mid-20s. So they don't have a great defense. I mean, against Buffalo, 34-31. Again, it's their defense doesn't show up, and that's not what you want against Kansas City. Minnesota, Carolina. Minnesota, go figure out that team. They play 3 unders in a row where the teams don't even score 20. And then this game was 28-20 with a minute left. And they let Carolina with Sam Darnold. They don't blitz them. 4th and 10 at their own 2. They don't blitz them. Why aren't you blitzing? What is the point of having 8 guys back who don't cover anybody? If you rush 5 or 6, the quarterback doesn't have time. It's 4th and 10. He'll throw it away, and then that's the game. But instead, they go to overtime, and they get the W there. So Carolina, now I thought they had a good defense. Now I don't know. They gave up 28 to a bad Minnesota offense. So now you're scratching your head with Carolina. And this is what my buddy's saying. Well, yeah, but they played the Jets and Houston, so they didn't give up any. And I go, I know. And then against Dallas lit them up. So now I'm seeing Dallas has a good offense. And Carolina against a good team is not going to show up. They're going to do good against the Houstons and the Jets. So now Carolina doesn't have that elite defense that you thought, even though their numbers are there. So when I go by the numbers, then mentally I go, yeah, but Dallas lit them up, and now Minnesota lit them up. So it depends who they're playing. If they're playing a good offensive team, I don't look at Carolina as having a good defense. San Diego, Baltimore, we talked about again. San Diego, their defense didn't show up. Their coach didn't show up. Going for 2 4th downs that weren't even close. Never really attacking Baltimore. They did get a pick, but again, just bad coaching. You blitz Lamar Jackson and take away his run. If you get him in the backfield, he can't run on you. I found that to be stupid coaching all the way around. Baltimore, they're not that good. We'll see how they play Cincinnati, who looks really good this week. Again, I think Cincinnati is a live dog in that game. Cincinnati kills Detroit. They really look good against Detroit. This is the way I expected Baltimore to play Detroit, Green Bay. So when the teams play Detroit, they must come out real flat and say, we got to win and not try. Cincinnati needs the win. So they came out strong, and Burrow had a big day. Chase had a big day. Everybody had a big day, which is what I expect when teams play the Lions. The Rams, this was a late play by me. I apologize if any of my buyers didn't see the play. I put it out just before I did my video. What time was it? 11 or so, 11:30 on Sunday. As soon as I saw the line go down to 7.5, that made it a play. 10, I didn't want to lay 4. And it's funny. And then they went 38-11. So Stafford had a big day, but there's your matchup, right? A good quarterback will eat up the Giants. Dallas should eat up the Giants. I think they did. And a running quarterback like this is the Rams are. So when the Rams play these running quarterbacks, that they're fine with it. And that's what you look at is you see how they play Jalen Hurts, and then you got Jones, and then you got Kyler. Well, Kyler Murray, they played bad, but he can actually throw, unlike Hurts and Wentz and Jones and all these guys that pretend to be quarterbacks. Darnell. So the Rams look good. Again, they didn't play a strong defense. The Giants do not have a strong defense. So that's the game where he's going to look good and light it up. Arizona beating Cleveland. My buddy got me on this one. He said there's 45-mile-an-hour winds. I said, well, I've already bet the over. The over came down. I bet it at 48. I think it came down to 46 or something. So I teased it. I might have bet it at 50 over 44, and it went down to 48. I'd already bet it early. I love the game over, and apparently there wasn't much wind, or Kyler Murray's used to it at Oklahoma, but they had no problem with the wind. 37-14. Mayfield got hurt again on his shoulder, so be careful about that. I look at Mayfield. He's really the key to that team. A lot of injuries on Cleveland, so be careful. Who do they got this week? They're home against Denver. You got to be careful with that. Without Mayfield being injured on a short week, Chubb was out. Is he playing? Hunt got hurt. So if they can't run the ball to balance, Cleveland's in a lot of trouble. So here's where you got to be careful of your injuries, where you think you got this really good team. I'm going to bet them, but that's why you got to look at the injuries as part of your analysis. Oakland loses their coach, Gruden, and beats Denver 34-24. Where did the points come from? Who was the offensive coordinator? What changed? I was expecting that against San Diego. I was expecting that a couple games. So now they beat Denver. Now, does Denver have a good defense? Again, they played the Jets and Houston, or they played weak teams. So now here comes Oakland putting up 34 on them. So I don't know, but I had Denver as an under team, and they play an over game. So is it an anomaly? Is it the matchup? Does Derek Carr like playing against Denver, but he sucks against Kansas City or San Diego? Does Denver have really the matchup? So you can't look at one game and say, well, Denver's not really an under, and Denver's defense really isn't that good. And yes, San Diego lit up, I think, Denver and lit up Oakland, but they didn't light up Baltimore. And that's the problem. So you've got to, because you get different matchups, you can't isolate one game. So my friend does the last 3, and I go, but it depends who they play. If they play Houston, the Jets, and Jacksonville, you can't say the defense is good. They play KC, Baltimore, and Buffalo, you can't say the defense is terrible. It's the blend. You got to blend everything. Now we've got 6 games in. Now you have a fairly good understanding against most teams. This is what the probability is going to be. And that's really all you can do is look at it like that. So I don't think Denver, maybe they're not an under team, but they're not an A. They're probably an even team now. Oakland's still their defense still gave up 24 to Bridgewater. Dallas, New England, Dallas looked good. Some bonehead calls. They had the ball at the goal line, and Prescott fumbles the ball. Why aren't you giving the ball to Elliott there, or rolling out Prescott or something? But you can't just quarterback sneak into a wall. There's a few teams that are just so poorly coached. So I thought that was a bad play call, and they didn't get the touchdown. Dallas should have won the game a lot easier. But again, New England, now I don't know what to do with Jones. Is he starting to play like he did at Alabama? Is he looking better? So I don't know on New England. I think they're getting better. Again, the game against Houston, you can't explain it. They give up 20 points to Mills. This is the problem. So again, it's all matchups. But I don't know anybody like Indy plays Mills and it's 31-3. New England plays them and they give up 20. So this is very difficult. It's very difficult to understand what's really going on here. So that's why you've got to blend the numbers, and you just, San Diego's 20-1 as a road dog. I'm going to play them over the course, because a lot of those, not some are at KC, some are in Oakland, some are against Baltimore, some are, against Green Bay. So they played good teams to be underdogs, and they play well. Seattle's the same. Had Russell Wilson played, and I'm getting 3 or 4 with Seattle, that game's a lock. That's a lot of my locks were Russell Wilson is a road dog. But in this case, I had to watch Geno Smith. So let's talk about that. So Seattle Pitt goes up 14. Seattle comes back running the ball. So Geno Smith doesn't really have much of an effect. He didn't win the game or lose the game. And I think they go to overtime and Pitt wins it. So Seattle went to the run. They didn't. So I still don't know Geno Smith. They go to the run. They play pretty well. And, again, I don't know enough information. Russell Wilson will be back in a few weeks. I think Seattle plays this week. They're home against New Orleans. Then they got the bye. And then maybe we see Russell Wilson the next week or the week after. I don't know. Early December, but maybe late November he gets back. He's a quick healer, and they're going to want him in there. So they don't want to waste the season. So we'll see. But Pitt didn't look great. I mean, they looked okay. Schuster was out. Roethlisberger looks okay. I don't – this isn't the 70s Steelers that I'm used to seeing. So, they're an average. I have them as an under team, and they are. It was 20-20, an under type of score. And that's what Pittsburgh is. So they're good defensive, and they're, without Schuster, they're not going to let you up. Seattle, of course, they're going to score less. I have Seattle as an even team. Means they score mid-20s, give up mid-20s. And I think that they're still there with Smith. They're going to run it. They'll probably be a better under team. But I don't love their defense. So if you're playing a really good quarterback, he's going to like the Rams lit him up. Arizona probably will light him up. Buffalo, Tennessee, didn't watch the game last night. Tennessee gets the win running Henry. No surprise. I wasn't surprised Buffalo won. Tennessee won again at the end. What the hell are they doing? They get the ball at the 3-yard line, kick the fucking field goal. It's like going for 2. You don't go for the 2 for the win. You kick the extra point because you're going to make the kick 99% of the time. Going for a quarterback sneak into a brick wall, you're probably not going to make it. And that's where Buffalo's Achilles is. They don't have a running back. So what's he going to do? And you can't really throw from the 5-yard line in. There's no room to throw it. This is the problem with passing teams. When you get down close, you've got to be able to. That has to be a run. You got Emmitt Smith, you got Barry Sanders, you got Peyton, you got Elliott. You're running the ball there. And that's what Dallas should have done. Why they didn't run Elliott, I don't know. But that's what Buffalo – but they don't have a running back. I like Singleton, but you didn't run him. And you're running against the Tennessee. They don't have much of a defense, but I found that to be an extremely bad play call. He slips. That's bullshit. He should have found – if Tom Brady runs a sneak, I guarantee you he scores. He knows what to look for. This guy, he ran right into the defender. He had his eyes closed. This guy's a choke. I'm telling you now, Josh Allen's a choke. This is a perfect example. What'd they lose? They lost to Pittsburgh. Here he should have a good Joe Montana wins that game, right? Joe Montana would have hit Jerry Rice or Dwight Clark or hit the back out of the backfield on a little out like he did at Notre Dame to beat Houston. Joe Montana wins the game. He won't lose it. Tom Brady would have won that game. And what does Josh Allen do? He loses the game with the ball at the 2-yard line. It shouldn't even have went to 4th down if he knew what he was doing. They would have scored earlier. This is my point. That's why he's a choke. That's why they're never going to win with him. And you need Jake Fromm in the game because he didn't audible out of it. He sees the defense. He knows where's he going to go. And okay, he slips. That's bullshit. Joe Montana never slipped. Brady doesn't slip. These guys don't slip when it's fourth down and the game's on the line. They win the game. He doesn't win the game. And that's why I always go for Jake Fromm because he's clutch. He won a lot of games at Georgia. And he beat out Fields. So he's better than Fields. So here Chicago's got Fields. Well, I got news for you. If Chicago had Fromm, they'd be much further along than with Fields. So that's really my recap of the pros. So my A teams now are going to be let me look at my numbers. I just completed my pro look. Hold on, is it up? Come on. So here are my A's. Buffalo, they're still an A, but they're Arizona, Dallas, the Rams, Tampa, and Baltimore. So now I move Baltimore up. When they lost early, I said, well, they're a B team. A B team is I don't trust as much as an A team. So even though they scored 28 and give up 21, they did play Kansas City in there, and they do have that loss to Oakland. So, but now they're playing much better. If they played the Lions now, I guarantee you they'd win by more than a field goal at the end. So they look really strong. So those are my A's. My B teams, New Orleans, Cincinnati are my B's, and Green Bay. Green Bay, even though their stats aren't great, it's 24-23. But when you take out the New Orleans 30-3 game, which I know you can't really take it out, but because it was the first game and there's no preseason, let's just see what it would be without it. So after 6 games, so they're scoring 24 games. So take it 24, 100 and a quarter times divided by 5, and now they're they're about 28 a game. And their defense gave up 30s, probably maybe they're 21. So maybe they're 28-21 versus 24-23. I mean, you can't take away the New Orleans game, but you still, Rodgers is playing. They're playing strong. You can trust them. My E team, Minnesota, I don't know what to do with them. I don't know if they're an over and under. I don't know. I just call them an E team. They scored 25, give up 23. Who the hell knows? Indy, I've got as an under. KC I have as an over. So they're not even a B team because their defense is too weak. They're an over team. And I was surprised Washington didn't score more. Tennessee I have as an over team. Cleveland, I don't know. They were an over team. Now they're an E team. And if the injuries are there, if Chubb's out and then Mayfield's playing with an injured shoulder, they're not an over team. They're probably an even team, and if they're a favorite, you almost want to start betting against them. Oakland, San Diego are even teams. New England's an under. The Niners, who's their quarterback? If it's Lance, they're definitely an under team. They don't have that great defense. They give up 24 a game, which to me, great defense. You're doing less than 20, and they don't score, so they're probably an under or an even. Again, with Trey Lance, they'll be an under. Seattle goes from an E to an under without Russell Wilson. Again, you've got to watch the injuries. Philly, you think's an over team, but they don't score. Some games they score, some they don't. They're playing a college offense. And Jalen Hurts, not a very good quarterback. I mean, he has his moments, but overall, the blitz comes. He doesn't know how to read it. Their defense, they give up 25. Tampa had them at 28. So that's about what you expect. They're kind of an even team. Pittsburgh under. And then you get Chicago as an under. And then Washington's a W. And Atlanta's a W. They're starting to get better. And Giants are really a W or a Z. And then the Z's are Jacksonville, Detroit, the Jets, Miami, and Houston. And those are the teams you want to bet against. Houston, no quarterback. Miami, no quarterback. The Jets, a rookie quarterback. The Giants, no quarterback. Jacksonville, a rookie quarterback. Washington's got a backup quarterback. So you can see that the Bears with Fields and under team again, rookie quarterback. Philly with Hurts, his second year. So you can see all these new quarterbacks. None of them are good. Mac Jones at New England, he gets 21 a game. I mean, he's the best of the bunch, and he's getting 21. The best quarterback that's not even playing is Kyle Trask of Florida, who's on Tampa Bay. So Tampa Bay's got the best quarterback, but by the way, they got Tom Brady. So if they win the Super Bowl this year and he retires, they go right to Trask. He's had a year to watch, which is what these other teams should be doing. Why you're starting Lawrence and Fields, and you think that's good. It's not. It's not good for a quarterback to lose. Then you get that drummed in. They don't know how to read a blitz. You got to let him. Look what Mahomes did. He didn't play the first year. Now he's one of the top 3 quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers didn't play for 3 or 4 years behind Favre. He's doing okay. Brady didn't play his first year. Manning played his first year, and he was always a choke. So the real good quarterbacks, you don't rush them in. You let them learn. Okay, Kyler Murray's kind of the exception, but he's just fast. As soon as he hurts his knee, then he'll be done. Prescott's learning, Stafford, Brady. Lamar Jackson's getting better, but he's in no means a top-flight quarterback. Just because he's fast doesn't make him a good quarterback. It's a good runner, and he gets yards for you. But when you play good defenses, he's not going to show up. Winston's killing in New Orleans. Burrow, I like at Cincinnati. He's a very the exception to the rule there. Carolina's got Darnold. They're not going anywhere. Denver's got Bridgewater. I don't love him, but he's okay. Minnesota, Cousins, he's terrible. Mahomes is good. Wentz, I don't like. Rodgers is great. Tannehill's no good. Baker, I like. I think he's good if he can get healthy. Carr, I like. Herbert, I like at San Diego. New England, Jones is okay. And Russell Wilson, but he's out. So that's what you have. Ben Roethlisberger's good, but without Schuster. So really, you're betting a lot against the quarterback because I know if you blitz them, they're all done. So that's my analysis. So is there any comments, questions, or anything I don't see? If anybody does, please feel free. Ask away. So right now I'm analyzing for next week, the pros and the college. The pros are look tough. I don't really – how do you Arizona 17 over Houston? How do you? They might win by 17, but it's tough to play. Even tease it down to 11, they can very easily be up 20 and give up a late touchdown. They win by 13. Tampa 12 over Chicago is a big number. The Rams 15 over Detroit. We've seen Detroit spoil that, because in the pros you get up 20. Let's say they get up 28-0. They're going to rest. They're going to run the ball, run the clock. The Lions will go for it on 4th down, which they seem to think they're playing Canadian football with the 4 downs. Like, oh well, we'll just go for it. You're supposed to punt. Like they don't even realize they're supposed to punt the ball and have a defense. You got KC, Tennessee, which not an easy KC game. Green Bay, Washington. Green Bay should pound them. Carolina and the Giants, who knows? Baltimore, Cincy. How good's Cincy? How good's Baltimore? Philly and Oakland. Frisco, Indy. Maybe I like Indy there. New Orleans, Seattle. What am I going to do without Russell Wilson? So again, Seattle, I don't even know if they're a good under team because their defense isn't very solid, Seattle's. New Orleans, I see New Orleans winning this game quite easily with their defense. But so that's what I see in college. Where's my college? College again. I don't have a Georgia under to play. Maybe the Clemson Pitt game, as I was talking about. Memphis could be a live dog against UCF. I had them as 7-point favorites, and I see UCF's a 3-point favorite. So, but Memphis is a little bit off this year. Lost a couple of games, lost the game to UTSA, and then lost another game. I'm like, so they're not as strong, but they have that good quarterback like usual. I don't know. I'm seeing like Georgia State, Texas State, and okay, Ohio State, Indiana. They're Ohio State. That could be a good game. Buffalo, Akron. I don't know. I'm off of Penn State laying 23. Is Clifford playing? If Clifford's not playing, they're not beating Illinois by 23. Now Illinois got a good defense. I would say without Clifford, that's probably a good under bet. Virginia, Georgia Tech. Virginia's got no defense. Louisville, BC. BC's got their backup quarterback in. Maybe it's an over. Syracuse, Virginia Tech should be a good game. I think Syracuse is a live dog there. And then Pitt, Clemson, as I said, Clemson getting 9.5. Even with this quarterback, you piss them off when they're dogs. Michigan Northwestern's a bit high. Cincinnati over the Navy. Now you're laying 27 with Cincinnati at Navy. The problem is Navy's going to run and take up the clock. So Cincinnati won't have as many possessions, but I'm sure Ohio State knew how to defend Navy. Luke Fickell was the defensive coordinator there. He'll know how to beat Navy. I don't know. That's a tough one. But you got so many shit games. Oklahoma, Kansas, but you're laying 38. So really, I got to study UCLA favorite over Oregon. So I got to really study it and see what's going on. So I'll be busy doing that today, tomorrow. Anyway, I don't see any questions. Dennis, yes. What do you think about the early in the week college matchups? Well, I'm just going over them now, Dennis. Like I said, I think I like maybe Clemson getting points. But I'm really just studying it. Cincinnati, I'll look at. UCLA, Oregon, Iowa State, 7 over Oak State. I think Oak State looks like a real good dog there. Alabama, 28 over Tennessee. They'll kill them. A&M should kill South Carolina. Wisconsin's favorite at Purdue. Now, Purdue just beat Iowa. I don't understand that line. I think I like Purdue there. UTSA over LTech. That line's only 6, seems really low. And Air Force over San Diego State. Notre Dame, SC, I don't know. Laying 7, I got to study that a little bit more. USC doesn't, it depends what team shows up. Fresno State, Nevada is a good game. Hawaii over New Mexico State. So I'm just starting to look, Dennis. I'll let you know when I put the picks down, but nothing. Maybe Coastal Carolina is a Wednesday game. Maybe they're only laying 3 to App State with that quarterback. That should be a live play there. SMU Tulane, they're 2 over teams. I don't know. I'll have to look at that, but probably tomorrow, Coastal Carolina being there. And I don't know about Cleveland, Denver. You got to look at the injuries on Cleveland, and then, so it's hard to say. I don't mind Bridgewater. He's better than I thought. So I don't think Cleveland can really blow them out if Mayfield's hurt and Chubb's out and the receivers are bad. Sure, Dennis, anytime. So it's hard to really see it, but I need to study it more, and then I get my feels of it. So I think that's it for now. Anyway, so really good college week. I think, it's all about the matchups and everything going, like Air Force, Boise, and I like the dog, and Air Force covered. Unfortunately, San Diego didn't cover against Baltimore. One of the rare times as a road dog, they didn't show up. But they're certainly talent-wise much better than they showed. So again, I look at San Diego, the next game, to be much stronger, be embarrassed. And their defense didn't tackle very well. So let's call it a bad matchup there. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching, and let me know if you have any questions. Again, www.teaserking.com. Go to the site and get my email, and you can ask me. Otherwise, I don't see any other questions. So have a great day, everybody. Thank you for watching.